Tonight, Islamic gay bashing comes to Europe. It's January 20th, and you're watching the Ezra Levant Show. Why should others go to jail when you're the biggest carbon consumer I know?
There's 8,500 customers here, and you won't give them an answer.
You come here once a year with a sign, and you feel morally superior.
The only thing I have to say to the government about why I publish it is because it's my bloody right to do so.
We've talked a lot about the organized sexual assault and rape that Muslim migrants have brought with them to Europe. You're looking at video of a taharush in Cairo. That's the Arabic word for it. Well, it's in Europe now. On New Year's Eve, more than 600 women in Cologne, Germany, were groped and assaulted in a similar fashion, including several rapes. So that's the war on women, but women aren't the only people that political Islam treats as trash for their sexuality. So are gays. The Islamic State's preferred way of dealing with gay men is to throw them off the top of tall buildings with a crowd of people cheering from below. But that's just their particular way of doing it. In Iran, they favor hanging gay men, usually from cranes, again, as a public spectacle. Iran, now the best ally of America, Iran, with whom Justin Trudeau promises to reestablish diplomatic relations. So has the Islamic tradition of gay bashing come to Europe too? And I mean actually bashing gays, not the metaphorical political or social disagreements, which is how the phrase gay bashing is often used in politically correct circles. Well, here, I'll show you. Here's a story from Dortmund, Germany. 2 transsexuals, men dressed as women, were accosted by 3 young Muslim men who shouted insults at them and then physically attacked them. Police were nearby and quickly intervened. The 3 Muslim men fled but were captured. According to the press release of the police department, the 3 Muslim men were 16, 17, and 18 years old. This is a translation of the page. The youths were known to police as prior offenders. So a typical day in Germany, you dump millions of Muslim men in the country, overwhelmingly single young men of fighting age, sexually repressed back home, bringing their rape culture with them. They see some transvestites, who knows, a mix of attraction and repulsion by these young men. According to the police, there was groping as well as beating. So these 3 Muslim men attack, but here's what's different. In this case, it wasn't just groping and hitting. They tried to stone the 2 German transvestites to death. They literally picked up stones, Quran style, and tried to stone the 2. You can see the German transvestites describing it and the German TV news station reenacting it. This is the video we're showing you now. Of course, gay bashing by Muslim men isn't new in Europe. It's very common, especially in cities like Amsterdam, arguably the gay capital of Europe. It's the gay capital, but it's also the gay bashing capital. Here, just watch one of a dozen stories I could show you.
Het slachtoffer gaat zaterdagavond stappen in een roze café aan de Amstel. Vervolgens neemt hij bij de halve maansteeg de taxi. Maar daar blijkt hij niet veilig.
Hij stapt in bij die taxi. Hij voelt zich eigenlijk vrij snel al wat ongemakkelijk. Want hij merkt dat de taxichauffeur omrijdt naar het adres wat hij heeft opgegeven. En dat hij eigenlijk voortdurend in zijn binnenspiegel kijkt. En als hij dan in zijn eigen rechter buitenspiegel kijkt, ziet hij ook dat een auto de taxi eigenlijk voortdurend achtervolgt.
De man wordt angstig en wil de wagen uit. Bij het Emmaplein weet hij de taxi uit te vluchten.
Hij gooit nog €20 naar binnen, omdat er €19 op de meter stond. Dus hij betaalt nog netjes, maar dan vlucht hij weg.
Maar die €20 is niet genoeg voor de taxichauffeur en zijn handlanger. Ze achtervolgen de man en weten hem in te halen.
En dan wordt hij dus vastgegrepen en dan krijgt hij eigenlijk onmiddellijk al een pak slaag. Dan wordt er vieze kankerhomo tegen hem gezegd en dan wordt hij meegetrokken in die auto.
Gays are being deliberately targeted by Muslim migrants for being gay. Here's one case a few years back where a gay fashion show was actually stormed by 10 Muslim migrants who dragged the gay models off the catwalk and beat them to a pulp. Sometimes it's targeted assassination of gay activists like Theo Van Gogh, the descendant of the painter Vincent van Gogh. He was a gay filmmaker who made a movie about sexual repression in Islam called submission. And for that, he was murdered by a Muslim who shot him 8 times and tried to cut his head off. He then stabbed a knife into Van Gogh's chest with a letter threatening Western governments, Jews, and Van Gogh's collaborator, a liberal Muslim named Ayan Hirsi Ali. You know, there's real gay bashing going on in the world, just like there's real rape culture in the world. But social justice warriors on the left don't really like to talk about the real thing because it's Islamic in its character. It's justified by the Quran's views on sexuality. It's perpetrated in the name of Islam by Muslim terrorists and Muslim governments overseas and by Muslim migrants in the West. So leftist activists prefer easier fights that don't make them feel as guilty, like going after Christian bakeries who don't want to bake gay wedding cakes. Yeah, that's the real problem for gay rights today, ain't it? I encountered a little bit of this week myself. I talked about the extremist plan by the Alberta NDP to force schools to let boys into the girls' washrooms and change rooms of the province if the boys self-identify as gender questioning. I said the policy was too far, that violated the privacy of girls and their security too. I said gay students should be protected from bullying, but girls need to be protected too. Oh boy, did I hear it from leftist activists. But you know, I'd take those complaints and wild accusations of transphobia and homophobia and every other insult mustered against me, I'd take them a bit more seriously if I heard a single word from those same critics about the actual gay bashing going on in the world right now. Sort of like the same silence I hear from the left and feminists about honor violence and Taharush organized rapes. You want to help transgender people? Tell you what, how about solve the problem where they are literally being stoned like it's medieval times? And that would be in Germany, not far away in Arabia. Stay with us. More ahead after these words. Welcome back to the show. Well, under 9 years of Stephen Harper, the left criticized him for being a cowboy in world affairs, for being un-Canadian, for not having nuance. It was similar to the criticisms put to George W. Bush. But after 3 months of Justin Trudeau as Prime Minister, how are the Liberals doing? Well, joining us now in studio to talk about this is our friend Laurie Goldstein, senior Sun media columnist. Great to see you, Laurie.
Thanks, Ezra. It's great to be here.
Well, your new column coming out across the Sun media chain tomorrow is on this question. Was Stephen Harper really this embarrassing hick that the left made him out to be? And is fancy, urbane Montreal Justin Trudeau, does he have a suave and a diplomacy that we always lacked?
Well, the title of the column is, Has Anybody Seen Trudeau's Nuance? And the reason is that it struck me that at the beginning of their prime ministerships, prime ministers do certain things to send a signal as to what they stand for, who the party base is. With Harper, if you recall, in 2006, he made the surprise visit to our forces in Afghanistan who were outside the wire. Obviously had to be done with a lot of security, announced after the fact. But that sent a message, right? And
that was his very first visit, wasn't it?
He was saying to people, this is what
even before going to the United States, even before going to China or Mexico or Israel, whatever.
Exactly. Then, as we know, he got criticized. He's a warmonger. He's Bush light. We got years and years of that from many of the former diplomats, from, I think, many commentators in the media. What I compare that to is, well, look at the first thing, basically the first thing Trudeau said, other than saying Canada is back, which has a unique kind of arrogance in its own, because it implies that the previous government was un-Canadian.
And the previous voters for every single election, that they weren't real Canadian.
Well, apparently 6 out of 10 aren't, because he got 39% of the vote. But what's the first thing he do? He takes 300 Canadian politicians and delegates to the Paris Climate Conference. Twice as many as the United States, 3 times as many as the United Kingdom. And so and look, he's entitled to do that, just like Harper was entitled to go outside the wire.
I went through that list. I found at least 4 professional photographers on the list.
Have we heard anything about, this guy's like a green environmental freak. This isn't balanced. This is, no. To me, when ex-diplomats and journalists in the chattering classes, as you say in Montreal, Toronto, when they say a politician lacks nuance, to me it's a guise for he doesn't agree with me, right? Or she doesn't agree with me. Yeah. And another example I would give would be Harper on Israel. And frankly, Brian Mulroney on Israel. Very strong supporters of Israel. So much so that they were criticized by, particularly Harper, by diplomats and journalists. Oh, this policy lacks nuance. I can guarantee you when the liberal policy reasserts itself, as it was under Chrétien and Paul Martin, and it will under Trudeau, I'm not saying it's anti-Israel, but it's much more pro-Palestinian. No one will say of the people who criticized Harper for being too allied with Israel, that now he's too allied with the Palestinian side. They will say that's a nuanced foreign policy.
Can I give you an example that stuck in my mind? Shortly after Trudeau was elected, before he was even sworn in, and he was the Prime Minister designate, he was not, there's that short interregnum. Barack Obama made a congratulatory phone call to Trudeau, which is standard protocol, very ceremonial, just a quick, hey, saw you did it, congrats, we'll talk more later, just want to touch, like a friendly phone call. In that very first phone call, that was not a substantive policy phone call, Trudeau, I didn't listen to the call, but I bet he blurted it out, we're pulling out our 6 CF-18s. In that first friendly ceremonial call, he said, no, we're pulling out the 6 CF-18s. Nuance? Is that nuance? It was so bad that the United States ambassador to Canada made a public plea. He didn't go through private diplomat. He said, please, Canada, change. Is that nuance? So nuanced that Obama, 2 weeks later, pulled the plug on the Keystone XL pipeline. I'm not saying Obama was in favor of it, but under Harper, things were kept in check?
Well, let's look what had happened. Today, in Paris again, where the 300 Canadian politicians went, there isn't one defense minister or any official from Canada participating in the 7-nation alliance, of which Canada used to be a part, of leading the bombing campaign against ISIS in Syria.
Yeah, now, Australia flew all the way in, Netherlands.
So to me, what I would say again is, so why doesn't anybody call what Trudeau did, as you say, suddenly we are outside looking in on a major issue of our time, which is the threat of terrorism. Warren Gunter in the Sun Media chain made a very good point yesterday. Recall how the Liberals went nuts when Canada lost a Security Council seat at the UN.
And that was because we were voted out by a bunch of dictatorships.
Something that people like me thought was probably Canada's finest ally.
Yeah.
But if it's important to engage in the international community, then why is it so important when it's the United Nations Security Council, but it's unimportant when you have a coalition led by the United States, not led by a dictator, trying to basically figure out how to solve root causes that are causing all the Syrian refugees to flee around the world. But you see, it's how you position it. Oh, well, Harper, he angered the UN with his stand on climate change, which wasn't a priority for him. Okay, if that's an unnuanced policy, then surely to within a few months of you becoming prime minister, we are out of a coalition we have always stood with. Why isn't that unnuanced?
I feel bad for Harjit Sajjan, the defense minister.
I like him.
Yeah, well, I mean, how can you not like a guy who actually served? And from what I've seen, served with courage and bravery. I mean, that's the Sikh culture. It's a warrior culture.
I think he's great.
And so here's a real guy, and he's answering to a PM who mocks our troops. Oh, whip out your CF-18s and see how big they are. I feel bad that Harjit Sajjan is not there in Paris, because I think he probably could be a great defense minister, but he's obviously not the boss. Trudeau obviously
Well, unlike most of the politicians there, he's actually fought terrorism on the ground. So I think his advice would be good. I also, I remember he was asked about this whole issue, and he said, of course the Allies want us to keep bombing. And I found that refreshingly honest.
Yeah, it's candid.
And I wonder if it got him in trouble with Trudeau's boys in short pants. I don't know, because their message was more, if you remember Trudeau, it was, well, we're pulling them out, but nobody minds.
Well, of course, 6 CF-18s make a difference, but it's the solidarity. And
it's
if
the
Canada
moral
can bail
support.
out, if America's closest friend, Canada, can bail out, well, there's 65 other countries who probably are facing pressure to bail out too. They say, oh, if Canada's out, we're out. Hey, let me throw one more thing at you. Stephen Harper obviously made patronage appointments over the course of his 9 years.
Too many.
Yeah, well, of course, and I don't know a single politician who hasn't.
Yep.
But let me give you an example of when he didn't make a patronage appointment. When Barack Obama became president, that's a man of the left, and Stephen Harper made a very creative, thoughtful choice. He did not appoint a conservative or a buddy or a crony. He chose Gary Doer, the NDP former premier of Manitoba. What a great, Gary Doer is an outstanding diplomatic, friendly man who
did a good job.
But he was a lefty who loved Canada, but he took the job, and Harper, just think about that. Harper thought, this isn't about me. This is about how do we connect with Obama, and at that time, a Democrat-dominated Congress. Compare that thoughtful, nonpartisan choice. That was an inspired choice.
Yeah, no, it was good.
With Pierre Trudeau's latest, Justin, I'm so sorry. With Justin,
like I'm correcting you.
Have I said that? I probably said that
No,
all
you're
day
good.
today. His two important appointments to ambassador to the UN and ambassador to Washington are liberal cronies. His co-chair of the Ontario campaign, the head of a lobby firm, these are not professional lifetime diplomats, and these are not a fit for the Congress or the administration. These are him, okay, here's for you, here's a goodie for you, here's a plum gig for you, thank you to you. Yeah. I think it's back to the bad old days of everybody get while the getting's good.
Well, look, I'm never surprised that administrations put their supporters in power. But the contrast you make is relevant. That relationship with the United States is our most important relationship. It's not something that you should award on the basis of political loyalty. It's something you should award on the basis of who is going to be most effective and who, despite their personal ideology, can do the job properly. The other problem there is that key diplomats with the United States have to have the heft and the courage to tell the Prime Minister when they may think his take is wrong on an issue. Cronies aren't going to do that. I'm not commenting personally on these two individuals. I don't know them. But when you look at the lay of the land, people who have fought elections together, who have known each other for years and years, I think Trudeau may not get the advice he needs, because sometimes you have to speak truth to power. Perhaps a good diplomat could have said, don't talk to him in your first conversation about the planes.
Yeah. There will always be patronage. Better to send to reward your cronies with an ambassadorship to, say, Barbados. Yeah. If you really want to give someone a gift, they can be the ambassador, the consul general in Bahamas. Yeah. Don't put them in charge of the most important relationships we have.
Exactly.
Well, great to talk to you. I look forward to your column in tomorrow's Sun Media newspapers. Nice to have you back on the show. Folks, stay with us after the break. Did I tell you we've got big news? We've published our first book. It's an ebook called The Destroyers, written by our very own Sheila Gunn Reid. She's after these quick words. Stay with us.
Looking for the perfect gift? Did you know the Rebel.media has a store? Make a statement with a t-shirt. Have your morning coffee in a Fearless Travel coffee mug. There's even an Ezra Levant bobblehead. It's a one-stop shop for the perfect gift. And don't forget to pick up something for yourself. Go to therebel.media/store to find out more.
Welcome back. Well, as you heard me say before the break, we are publishing our first book here at The Rebel, and the author is none other than Sheila Gunn Reid, who joins us now via Skype from Alberta. Hey, Sheila, great to see you. Congratulations.
Thanks for having me back.
Well, I can't believe it. The book is called The Destroyers. People can get their free copy at thedestroyers.ca. In a nutshell, why should people read this book? Who is it for, and what do you want them to learn?
Well, in a nutshell, the book is for everybody. I think my book was probably 9 months too late. I want the book. We're giving it away for free. We want it in everybody's hands because I want everybody to have the Coles Notes version of who makes up this government, the chiefs of staff, the MLAs. I want everybody to have some sort of knowledge about the kind of activism and radicalism and extremism that lives in our NDP government.
That's a good point. It's not so much a recap of the headlines from the last 6 months. It's more the kind of biographical research, the opposition research, so to speak, that the mainstream media should have done, but didn't do, and still hasn't done. So it's up to us here at The Rebel to do it, am I right?
Well, that's exactly it. I mean, we look at Brian Topp, Rachel Notley's chief of staff. He's so far out in left field, he doesn't want cars in cities. Would anybody have voted for the NDP if they knew that Brian Topp would be effectively running the show? I highly doubt it. And that sort of attitude just pervades the rest of the NDP ministries. And, you know, I just want everybody to know who's in charge now.
Yeah, and that's the thing. The book, it's not a very long book. It's an e-book, but it's laid out sort of like you say, a Cole's Notes. Who is Brian Topp? Who is Graham Mitchell, the chief of staff for the energy minister? Who are these people? Not the obvious stuff that everybody knows, but the stuff that if we had a really vigorous press corps, everyone would know. But our press, I think the mainstream media in Alberta is very compliant. There are some great exceptions, of course, our friend Lauren Gunter being one of them. But in the main, I think workaday journalists in Alberta sympathize with Rachel Notley, either for her personal story, the Cinderella story of the woman who took over and, you know, from her father and made a go of it. Like either they're so enraptured by her personal story, or more probably they just like the ideology of the NDP and having Alberta's oil and gas taken down a notch. So for whatever reason, the Alberta mainstream media has not done the same sort of due diligence on the Alberta NDP that they would for any government, especially governments on the right. That's my theory. What's yours?
Well, that's exactly what's happened. We looked at how, I mean, we all saw how vigorously everybody went through Alison Redford's expenses, and they were ridiculous and exorbitant. But this new government has not been subject to the same amount of scrutiny. And it's scrutiny that should have happened before the election. It's scrutiny that I sort of tried to do before the election. I didn't really have this platform until now. So I want to make sure that we don't repeat this same catastrophic mistake in 3.5 years.
It's available in ebook format. If you have a Kindle, you can download it for that. You can download it, use it on your laptop. You can even download it in PDF form. You can even download it on your phone. I've downloaded it on my phone. It's so easy. You don't need any technology to do it. You just give us your email and click, it's yours. Am I right?
Right. Like I said, I want everybody to have it. I don't want I don't want any voters in Alberta out there without this information going into the next election. Yeah. So we've made it, thank you so much. We've made this as available as we can in any number of formats so that every Albertan can have this information. And it's a really short read. I wanted to make something that was short so that farmers could read it, so that rig hands could read it when they're off shift after work. Just something that takes, you know, maybe an hour, hour and a half, and you're done.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just the facts, and it's meticulously footnoted. There are strong opinions in it. We know, Sheila, you've got strong opinions. But the strength of the book is if anyone says, no, that can't be true, prove it. Just click the link and you'll be taken to the primary source. That's real journalism. Last word to you, Sheila. If there was someone who was saying, well, that sounds boring, it's actually, it couldn't be more crazy and entertaining. I mean, just the facts about, you know, the MLAs who were cheering Hugo Chavez, the premier, and her crazy Che Guevara watch. Like, it's terrifying and it's sad, but it's also sort of hilarious in a sad way, too, how crazy these folks are.
Do you know what? I think if somebody was from another province looking in, or even from another country looking in and saying, look, we had a conservative government for 40 plus years, and now we have people who threaten suicide because their feelings are hurt, that wear watches that celebrate communist mass murderers, who do beat rap about, you know, Hugo Chavez. It's just so outlandish that if you didn't have it all on paper and footnoted, no one would believe you.
Yeah. Well, the book is called The Destroyers, and it is free to anyone. You don't have to be from Alberta. In fact, if you're from outside Alberta, take it as a cautionary tale. Just go to thedestroyers.ca, thedestroyers.ca, and you just enter your email address, you choose your format, boom, it's yours. Sheila, we're so proud of you for being our first published author. Thank you for this, and good luck. I predict that this book will be a bestseller. You know, to get a bestseller in Canada is 5,000 copies. I believe this book will sell 5,000 copies in the first 48 hours. That's how confident I am. Maybe I shouldn't have set the bar so high. I think this is going to be a bestseller by the end of the week. Sheila, congratulations. Thanks, my friend. And you keep up the great work as you do every day.
Thank you, Ezra. Thank you so much.
All right, stay with us after the break. Your viewer mail.
I love Alberta. I've lived here my whole life and I'm proud of it. I'm proud of our free market, pro-business, low-tax, do-it-yourself attitude. And now, I'm watching my province get destroyed. We've all had hints of the NDP's radical views in the past, but no one actually thought they'd ever run this province. Not even them. And now they are. And the worst is yet to come. I give my sad forecast for Alberta in my new ebook, The Destroyers, Rachel Notley and the NDP's War on Alberta. Go to thedestroyers.ca to sign up for your free copy today.
Welcome back. This is my favorite part of the show, viewer feedback. And someone using the pen name Joe Schmo writes, I tune into your show to get the other side sometimes, but I must say the Islamophobia is getting quite tiresome. We are a great diverse nation, and I am proud Mr. Trudeau has welcomed these refugees from Syria. We should continue to welcome people of all races and religions to this country. I think the only thing that's haram is ISIL, idiotic state of Ezra Levant. Hi, Joe. I know. I mean, those young women in Cologne, Germany, who were sexually assaulted and raped by a swarm of Muslim migrants, the number of women is now up to 652, by the way. They're so tiresome, those women. They're such Islamophobes. And the 2 German transvestites I talked about today who were literally stoned by Muslim migrants until police came, they're such Islamophobes. And those 10 Montreal teenagers who were raped by a Muslim migrant to Canada, they're such Islamophobes too. And look at this video here. That Islamophobe, that screaming woman being led down to a subway station to be gang raped in Cairo. She's a Muslim herself, but she's such an Islamophobe. I guess it's true literally if by Islamophobe you mean someone who has fear of Islam, because all the people I've just mentioned are terrified. Look, I acknowledge there must be some fine people in Syria, just like there were fine people in Germany during the Nazi era. But don't you think we should sort the lambs from the wolves before bringing tens of thousands of them over? Don't you think? But we're not. Next letter from Andy, who writes, Ezra, you are an ill-informed homophobe that clearly has no understanding of how the school system works. It would have been nice to see that you had done some actual research before doing a story like this. Unfortunately, you read the policy and jumped to conclusions. I really like how you even use the current fear of Muslims to shore up your weak arguments. You have some talent in front of the camera. Use it to find yourself a real job. And he's talking about my video the other day about the new transgender policy in Alberta. I notice, Andy, that you are a teacher from British Columbia. I can tell that from your email address. So you're in British Columbia telling me I don't know how the Alberta school system works. Okay, got it. Well, here's what I do know. I read the 18-page guidelines from the Alberta Ministry of Education. I read it very carefully, including the section that says it applies to every school, public or private or charter, Catholic or Muslim or Jewish. And then I read out on camera the minister's statement that he would consider dissolving any school board that is firing elected school trustees who don't bow down to him in this policy. So yeah, I think I've actually got a pretty clear idea of how the school system works under the NDP. It works exactly the same way the farm unionization bill worked under the NDP. No consultation, no respect for Albertans, everything rammed down people's throats by an extremist NDP party, 80% of whose senior staff commutes in to Alberta from Vancouver or Toronto. So yeah, I think I get it. Misty writes, first, let me say that I love the Rebel Media, and I am an avid watcher of yourself and your fellow reporters on YouTube. continuously forwarding the links to your channel to my friends and family. I have my Stop the Carbon Tax lawn sign and have contributed monetarily to your efforts. Unfortunately, I do not agree with the way that you are presenting the information as described in the email about the NDP transgender policy. Completely agree with the point, boys and girls should not be using the same washrooms or change rooms at school, but as the mother of 3 boys, I am just as concerned about their need for privacy. My boys would not want to change their clothes after gym with a girl present in their change room either. This email, that's the email I sent out about it, makes it sound as if all boys are sexual deviants and will be lurking in the school washrooms waiting for an unsuspecting girl to enter to attack her. This email perpetuates the myth that only girls can be violated in such a manner. I will absolutely sign your petition, although it should be titled Protect Our Kids, not only girls. Hi, Misty, you are exactly right. Boys are just as often molested and harassed as girls, by the way. It just doesn't get reported as often. But the only thing that the politically correct social justice warriors care about is virtue signaling, is being perceived as saintly and morally superior. So they actually don't care about boys. By calling our campaign protectourgirls.ca, it takes away the moral high horse from the social justice warriors and forces them to debate the policy, not just say, I care more than you. Anyways, I should tell you that in the 3 days since we launched protectourgirls.ca, 130,000 people have visited the pages on this subject on our website. Just incredible, but you're right. You're right, boys are the victims here too. David writes, hello, Ezra. Great yet surreal piece on the cartoon instructions. Although aren't the gatekeepers missing an obvious one? I'm thinking Wile E. Coyote holding a lit bomb, perhaps. One must wonder if Premier Wynn's anti-sex harassment ad campaign was really meant for Europe. It would be also funny if not for clips like that poor woman in Tahrir Square being dragged underground. That is so disturbing to watch, but good for you on flagging this nonsense that's headed our way. Well, that's David Menzies, our on-air contributor, who's also a great letter writer about the rest of our website, too. David, you're right. I mean, it's the same logic, isn't it? If all it took to stop a rapist was a cartoon saying, hey, guys, don't rape, then all it would take to stop a terrorist with a bomb or a gun would be a picture saying, hey, guys, don't kill us. It just doesn't work that way in real life. Real life would see a moratorium on Muslim migrants coming to Germany, a review of those already in Germany, especially those under false pretenses, speedy deportation of those who came in falsely, or especially those implicated in crimes, and a truth campaign targeting politicians, professors, and the media to stop the massive cover-up of sex crimes and other horrendous side effects of this unvetted migration of young, aggressive Muslim men. But look, every word I just said is probably a hate crime in Germany now, so the madness will continue, which is a shame because you see, if people with real concerns like mass rape, if those people with real concerns are not allowed to have their concerns treated in official channels by the establishment, by political parties in power, by the police, well, in desperation, those people will go elsewhere. You're starting to see vigilantes crop up across Europe. The direct cause is Muslim migrant violence, but the indirect cause is the media and the police and politicians not only refusing to deal with the real problem, but covering those problems up like they did in Cologne, Germany. How depressing. Hey, folks, I want to tell you 2 last pieces of news. We have distributed most of our 2,500 StopTheCarbonTax.com lawn signs to those who requested them. We can, if you want to know more about that campaign, just go to StopTheCarbonTax.com. If you asked for a sign and haven't received it yet, our apologies. We've done our best to distribute that through volunteers. But here's why I'm telling you this now. We have a great volunteer in Edmonton named Kelly, who's going to be doing the drive down from Edmonton to Calgary with a truck full of signs. And she can drop off your StopTheCarbonTax.com sign along the way. You can email her at lawnsigns@therebel.media to coordinate a pickup and drop-off place and time with her. Kelly, that is so nice of you. Thanks very much. Hey, speaking of things, what do you think of our new book, The Destroyers? It's our first book we published, won't be our last. Sheila Gunn Reid, just fighting every day for Albertans. This book to recap, is not just a rehash of headlines. It is deep biographical research into who's who in the zoo in this band of rogues and radicals and extremists that Rachel Notley calls her government. You've got to read it. And we think, well, what should we do? Should it be like $10 like a book? Should it be $5? Should it be $1? We thought, well, just give it away. If someone wants to know the truth about the Alberta NDP, let them know the truth. So go to thedestroyers.ca. Share that website with your friends, thedestroyers.ca. All you have to do is just type in your email address, boom. You can download the ebook either as a PDF or for your Kindle or any other way of reading it. We will, in the weeks ahead, set up a system where Amazon will actually print it and bind it and mail it to you. But look, you're high tech, you're watching this online, so get it for free as an ebook, thedestroyers.ca. And let me know what you think of it. It's a quick read. I mean, I think you can read an hour and a half kind of thing, and you won't believe the facts in it till you click the links to the footnotes. It's all there. That's it for me today, folks. Hope you enjoyed the show. Hey, you, keep fighting for freedom. Good night.